So these days should become days of celebration, days of Yom Tovim, Be'ezras Hashem. The reason we do this program is in addition to the tremendous source of Limud Torah that we should always have, and we're always supposed to learn in Yom that are shaykhs at the time, but even more so, by Yidden putting themselves in a mental space of the Geula, of the redemption, firing up their Amunah, strengthening it, whether regarding Mashiach's coming and Mashiach's arrival, which is really, really imminent, and also in regard to all the other things related to the Geula, Techiyas HaMesim, which will be a major subject today. This hastens, this actually drives the Geula, it brings it closer, and one thing is for sure, we're definitely can use Mashiach a moment earlier. So today's events were sponsored by Mr. Benny Westreich, and this is in honor of his father's yard site, which is today, should be here soon. Rabbi Yeshua ben Moreinu and Rav Yosef Yoiska. Shalom, he was a Rav, he told me a whole somewhere in Galicia, and then he came to America. And so today is his yard site. May his neshama have a very great aliyah. And thanks to Benny, and also by Heshi Jacobs, also sponsored today's events. Should be a schutz for his mother's neshama. I was trying to, so busy. I was trying to get his mother's name, but I didn't. So hopefully come by today and we'll get that. The Hashem knows, so it'll be aliyah's neshama for her as well. We want to thank Rabbi Sauer, who as last year, and it was such a great cheer last year, so we were excited to have Rabbi Sauer here again this year, and again, lead us to some really special Torah and teaching regarding Techiyas HaMesim, fascinating subject, and we are all ears already. You Be'ezras Hashem, you a Kohen, Rabbi Sauer? Yes, that's right. You're the Kohen Gadol over here. So we bench Rabbi Sauer that Be'ezras Hashem very soon. He should walk barefoot in the base of Mikdash and take amongst the blood. No, that's everybody's gonna be nice and young.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi Wolf. I remember last year on Beis HaMikdash, and this year we're proceeding further. So there are really 4 different periods in Jewish history. And we say it every Shabbos in the bracha before Kel Adon. Ein ke'erkecha Hashem Elokeinu ba'olam hazeh, ve'ezvuloscha malkeinu l'chai olam haba, efes biltecha malkeinu limos HaMashiach, ve'endom l'cha malkeinu l'shtiyas HaMesim. So there are 4 periods. There's Olam Hazeh, there's Olam Haba, there's Yemos HaMashiach, and there is the period of Techiyas HaMesim. Not necessarily in that sequence, but these are the 4 basic periods in Jewish history, and all of them have something to do with Schar V'Oinish, and they are from Ikwei Hamunah, from the fundamental principles of Hamunah that every Jew has to believe. We know from the Ani Mamins, the Ani Mamin in Yemos HaMashiach and Techiyas HaMesim, and so these are very, very fundamental principles. The Rambam at the end of Hilchos Melachim, when he's discussing Yemos HaMashiach, he says that although we know from the Nevi'im about Yemos HaMashiach, but we really know very little. The Rambam writes, even the Chachomim didn't have an exact Kabbalah in these matters. They interpreted the Psukim in the Nevi'im, and therefore there's a major machloiksim, major disagreements concerning Yemos HaMashiach, and especially concerning the sequence of events during Yemos HaMashiach. And the Rambam says, don't spend too much time trying to figure out the details. Because lo yarich b'medrashes hamuras b'inyonim elu v'lo yisimem ikor she'ein mivim lo lidei yira v'lo lidei ahava. It doesn't bring to Yiras Hashem. It doesn't bring to Ahavas Hashem. And don't try to figure out the time of Mashiach. In other words, these, we know the basic principle, we don't know the details in terms of the principle. If that's true concerning Yemos HaMashiach, that we don't have clarity, so Kal V'chomer concerning Techiyas HaMeisim and Olam Haba. Gemara says in Brachos, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Kal HaNeviim Kulom Lo Nisnadu Elo Yemos HaMashiach. All of the nevuos, all of the prophecies of the Neviim refer to the days of Mashiach. Olam Haba Ayin L'Rasa L'Kim Zulasecha. When it comes to Olam Haba, only HaKadosh Baruch Hu really knows what Olam Haba is about. And Rashi explains, even the Nevi'im did not have a clarity concerning Olam Haba, and therefore, of course, we don't have any clarity, but we have to have Emunah, Ani Mamin, Techiyas HaMeisim, and Olam Haba, and therefore, it's important to have a framework in terms of Techiyas HaMeisim and Olam Haba, to be mechazik our Emunah, and at least to have some perspective. Of course, not a clarity at all. That's impossible for any human being. Even Moshe Rabbeinu did not have a clarity in terms of what Olam Haba is, but it's important to have that framework, because this is one of the asaitis of schar v'einish, of reward and punishment, Hasharas HaNefesh, Gan Eden, Gehinnom, and what is the Torah view about Techiyas HaMeisim and Olam Haba? So first, let's just start with a little bit of background before we get into that. The Rambam has 13 principles of faith, which he in the Mesechus Sanhedrin, which he delineates in Mesechus Sanhedrin, and the Rambam says if a person does not believe in these Ikrei Amuno, he's an Apikoros. He's a heretic, and Ein Lo Chelok L'Olam Haba. And the Rambam says, in order to be Zoichet to Olam Haba, a person has to have that fundamental Emunah in these Ikrei Amuno. The 13th principle of faith is Emunah in Techiyas HaMeisim, in resurrection, which basically is that the neshama of a person, when a person dies, when a person leaves this world, so the neshama departs from the guf, and the guf deteriorates in the kever. And the time of Techiyas HaMeisim, whenever that will be, the nefesh, the neshama, returns to the guf, and the guf is resurrected. The guf with the nefesh, with the neshama, and both of them, the neshama and the nefesh and the guf, receive schar together, or they are judged together, guf and nefesh. And this is one of the great miracles. We say it every day. We mention it every day, and every day in Shemona Esrei, Baruch Atah Hashem v'chayi hameisim. It's in the second bracha of Shemona Esrei. The second bracha is called Gevuros Hashem, the might of Hashem. This is one of the most unbelievable miracles, that the neshama returns to a resurrected guf, and they merge together as they were in this world, in Olam Hazem. We'll see when this is going to happen, a little bit about what is going to happen. But the Techiyas HaMeisim in our Torah is Ein Lo Chelok L'Olam Haba. If you look on, does everyone have the handout? On page 1 of the handout, that's the first Mishnah in Perek Chelek in Sanhedrin. Elu she'ein lahem chelok l'olam haba, ha'omer ein Techiyas HaMeisim in Torah. That there is no Techiyas HaMeisim. A person denies Techiyas HaMeisim, so ein lo chelok l'olam haba. We'll see why that's the punishment if he denies Techiyas HaMeisim. But Rashi explains, what does it mean he denies Techiyas HaMeisim min HaTorah? So Rashi explains that shekoife b'medrashim the darshina b'gemara, that he denies it from the Torah, because there are. How do we know about Techiyas HaMeisim? We see there are various drushes, various psukim that refer to Techiyas HaMeisim, And he denies those drushes, and therefore he is denying that there will be a Techiyas HaMesim, in which there will be schar v'oinesh during that period of Techiyas HaMesim. What's the tachlis on a superficial level? What's the purpose of having a Techiyas HaMesim? And we'll see whether Techiyas HaMesim is the same as Olam Haba, or Techiyas HaMesim is something totally distinct from Olam Haba. What is the purpose? So Gemara gives the purpose. Gemara has a very, very beautiful Gemara in Sanhedrin, and this is on page 2. I'm going to start the Gemara. It's not the whole Gemara, but the Gemara in Sanhedrin tells the story that Antoninus, the emperor of Rome, came to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. They were very, very friendly, and he asked him a question. Gufo neshama yicholim liftor atzmon. There's a body and there's a soul. They can absolve themselves from the judgment, from din. How? The Guf can say, the neshama sinned. Without the neshama, I'm just like a stone, like a rock. I can't do anything without the neshama. So the Guf wants to absolve itself from the din. Neshama omereth Guf chota. But the neshama says the sin was caused by the Guf. From the day that the neshama says, from the day that I left the Guf, harini parachas ba'avir kitzipor. I fly in the atmosphere like a tzipor, like a bird. In other words, I was weighed down by the neshama. It's the neshama that was the cause of sin. So Antoninus asked Rabbi, he said, how can they be judged? Each one can absolve itself and blame the other that they are the cause of sin. So Rabbi answered, Em shalachol moshel, a very, very, what? No, now we're on page 2. Yeah, now a little bit on page, I have to read a little bit more, then we can see page 2. Amalei, Em shalachol moshel, Lamar David Daima, Melech Basav Adam Shaylo Paradis. It was a king who had a beautiful garden, Paradis Noah, V'hayolo, top of page 2. Hayolo B'choris Noahs, and he had wonderful figs that were growing in the garden. The Hoshi Bo Shnei Shomim, and there were 2 Shomim. There were 2 people to guard the garden. Echad Chiger v'Echad Suma. One was lame and one was blind. Amalo Chiger l'Suma. So the lame said to the blind person, I see these beautiful fruits in the paradise. I can't get to them myself because I'm lame. So put me on your shoulders and I'll bring them and we'll both eat them together. So the lame person goes on the shoulders of the blind person, and he took them and they ate them. Then the owner of the paradise came a few days later. Where were those beautiful fruits? What happened to them? I couldn't get to them because I don't have legs that would carry me to be able to get to them. The blind person, I have no eyes. I couldn't even see them. He figured it out, right? He put the chigar on top of the suma's shoulders, and he judged them together. Af HaKadosh Baruch Hu mevi neshama v'zorko baguf. This was Rebbe's answer, Antoninus. Kadosh Baruch Hu brings the neshama, and he infuses the neshama back into the guf, into the body. V'donoisam ke'echad, and they're both judged together. Guf and neshama shenema. Yikwa el hashamayim b'yal v'aloretz lodin imo. Yikwa el hashamayim b'yal. That's the neshama that comes from shamayim. V'aloretz lodin imo zeh haguf, and that's the guf that comes from oretz. So Hakadosh Baruch Hu brings them back together, the neshama and the guf, and they are judged together. So Gemara is giving us a little bit of an insight in terms of the purpose of Techiyas, the purpose of Techiyas HaMesim. But we'll see a little bit more shortly. Where do we learn out Techiyas HaMesim? Gemara has a number of different drushes. One of the drushes is Sata Mimenu was Chumas Hashem Li'Aaron HaKohen, that la'osid lovo, you're going to give truma to Aaron Akoyin. V'chi Aaron la'olam kaim, is Aaron always going to be alive? Alo lo nichnas Eretz Yisrael, shenosim lo truma, that we're giving him truma la'osid lovo. He never even entered Eretz Yisrael. El malamed she'osid lichos v'Yisrael nosim lo truma. V'kam l'tchiyas hamesim min haTorah. Aaron is going to be resurrected, and Klal Yisrael will give him truma. This is one source for Techiyas hamesim. Aaron HaKohen will receive truma la'osid lo. He couldn't have received truma in his lifetime because he never entered Eretz Yisrael, and truma only comes from Eretz Yisrael. So this must be referring to la'osid lovo in the future, sometime in the future, when there will be a Techiyas hamesim. A second pasuk, Oz Yoshia Moshe u'vnei Yisrael asashir hazos, right? By Oz Yoshia. Oz Yoshia, they will sing the Shira, the Shor Lo Nema. It doesn't say they sang, they will sing. Elo Yoshia Mikan L'Tchiyas hamesim min haTorah. La'osid lovo. They are, Moshe and Klal Yisrael are going to sing this Shira in the future. In the future, that means during the period of there will be a Techiyas hamesim. Then Sefer Daniel has a lot more where it's mefurish. Techiyas hamesim in Sefer Daniel. There's a pasuk, Rabbi Mishene Admas Ofer Yokitzu, when there will be many from those who sleep in the ground, from those who died, that they will Yokitzu, they will wake up. Eila l'chai olam, the eila l'cherpos, l'deron olam. These four chai olam for eternal life, as a result of Techiyas hamesim, and others for eternal punishment. And then one final pasuk, Ani Amis ve'echye. In the pasuk, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I will cause someone to die, the echye, and to live. So Amis comes before echye, meaning that there was Misa, and then there will be life again after the Misa. That's a reference to Techiyas hamesim. And the Gemara brings other drushes as well for Techiyas hamesim. So the Techiyas hamesim has sources in the Torah, in Nevi'im, in Ksuvim, and Techiyas hamesim is, as the Rambam writes, a fundamental principle of Emunah. It's really one of the Yesodos of Schar v'Onish, the whole concept of reward in punishment. But we know there's Techiyas hamesim, but there's also Olam Haba. What does that mean? Are they the same? Are they different, Techiyas hamesim and Olam Haba? If they are different, what is the difference between them? And how do we understand these two concepts of Techiyas hamesim and Olam Haba, the world to come? And here we have a major machlokes among the Rishonim. That's really the focus of this shir. What is Techiyas hamesim? When will it take place? And what is Olam Haba? Are they the same? Are they different? So we're going to start with the shita of the Rambam. The Rambam has a very, very unique shita. He's really the minority opinion among the Rishonim in terms of Techiyas hamesim and Olam Haba. So if you turn to page 3, we read the Rambam inside Hilchos Tshuva, where the Rambam describes Olam Haba, a little bit about Olam Haba, about the world to come. The good which is hidden for the tzaddikim, who chaye Olam Haba. That's the ultimate reward, life in Olam Haba. That's eternal. There is no death after Olam Haba. And it's total good in Olam Haba. Hu shekosu b'Torah leman yitav loch v'harachta yomim. Mipi hashmua lomdu leman yitav loch l'olam shekulo tov. Yitav loch, it's a world of total good. There's no ra, there's no bad in Olam Haba. V'harachta yomim l'olam shekulo tov. And it's eternal. It's eternal. There's no end to the sar that one gets in Olam. Once one is in Olam Haba, that is eternal life. Zehu ha'olam haba. Schar tzadikim here who sheyisku l'doyam zeviyu b'toivezu. The reward, the ultimate reward for tzadikim is olam haba, that they will receive that pleasure, the noyam, and the tova in olam haba. Piron harashoyim. What's the punishment for Rishoyim? Shelo yisku l'chayim elu el yikorsu v'yomus. The ultimate punishment, the Rambam says, for Rishoyim is kores. Kores, the Rambam learns, means they're cut off from Olam Haba. They don't receive that reward of Olam Haba. That's kores. Kol mi she'eino zoicha l'chayim elu hu hamei she'eino chay v'olam. So Olam Haba is for tzaddikim, right, who are judged that they deserve Olam Haba, and it's eternal life with only tov and pleasure for the neshama, as we'll see. And but Rishoyim are cut off from Olam Haba, and that's the kores that the Torah says. He kores, ti kores, hanefesh haki. He kores v'olam hazeh, ti kores v'olam haba. Page 4. Then the Ram describes a little bit what Olam Haba is about. Base. Olam Haba ein bo guf u'geviyah. There's no body in Olam Haba. El nefoshes tzadikim b'vad. Only a soul. Below guf kamalachei sharis. It's like malachim. Malachim have no body. They're only a neshama, ruchnius. And the hoyel ve'ein bo geviyus. Since there's no body in Olam Haba, ein bo lo achila. There's no eating. No shtia, no drinking, and none of the needs that the body has in this world, and Olam Hazeh. Lo yera davar bo min advarim shema'arim legufas b'olam hazeh. You go in yeshiva. There's no sitting in Olam Haba. These are things for the body. Amida, no standing, no shena, no sleeping. Misa, there's no death in Olam Haba. Lo etzev, u'schaik. There's no sadness in Olam Haba. There's no laughing in Olam Haba. It's totally different than what we know about life, because we have a guf. Olam Haba, no guf. It's only nefesh. It's only neshama. So what do the tzaddikim do in Olam Haba? Chachamim habishayim. Olam Haba ein bo lo achila, lo shkia, lo tashmish. El tzaddikim yoshim v'atrosem b'Hashem. Tzaddikim sit. Doesn't mean they're physically sitting, but atrosem b'Hashem, and they're wearing crowns. The henim miziv hashchina. The hanor, the pleasure they have, is from the radiance of the Shechina, the radiance of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the tzaddikim with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that pleasure, that hanor of being in the presence of the Shechina, that close presence with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right, is the greatest hanor, something that we can't fathom it. It's unimaginable. So the Rambam says that is Olam, that is Olam. It's only neshama, no guf, and it's eternal. Umaluzam skipping. That they get an understanding, much greater understanding of the emes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mash'enam Yodim, Deheim Beguf Ofel Vashaf. When we're in this body, this lowly body, we can't possibly have that understanding. In Olam Haba, where it's just neshama in the presence of the Shechina, right? They get that closeness and understanding, a much greater understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the greatest pleasure. So according to the Rambam, that's Olam Haba. That's Olam Haba is just neshama. There's no guf at all. When does this Olam Haba take place? On page 5, the Rambam says Zeshakoro also. So we usually think of Olam Haba means after this world that we're living in now, it is terminated, is over, then there'll be a new world. Olam Haba says that's not what Olam Haba is. The Rambam explains in Halacha Ches, Zeshakoro also Chachomim Olam Haba lo mipnei sheinu motziata v'zeh Olam v'vachakach Yovo also ha'olam. It's not because, why did they call it Olam Haba? It's not because it doesn't exist now. It does exist now. It's world will be destroyed. This world will be terminated, and then the Hashem will create a new world. That's not That's not the case. It exists now. Olam Haba exists in the present. Shenema shetzafanta reyacha pa'olta v'lo karu Olam Haba. So why is it called Olam Haba, the next world? Elo mipnei she'osa machayim boim l'odam acha chayi Olam hazeh. It's because it comes after a person leaves this world. In this world, we're body and soul, right? And then when a person dies, the shama departs from his integrates into Alpha. The soul, the neshama remains. The neshama never disintegrates. That neshama goes to Olam Haba after a person dies and leaves this world. The neshama, if that neshama merits, it's judged that it deserves Olam Haba, it will go to Olam Haba, and it's pure neshama. There is no guf. In this world, Rama says, "On the guf and nefesh, we are guf and neshama, guf and nefesh." So, Olam Haba, according to the Rambam, is after a person dies, the neshama is pure neshama. There's no guf at all, and the neshama goes to Olam Haba and is in the presence of the Shekhinah eternally, and his nehene has that hanoah, that pleasure, that it's a spiritual pleasure from the Shekhinah, from having that closeness with the Shekhinah. What is missing from here, from the Rambam? What does the Rambam not mention? Techiyas HaMesim. There is no mention of Techiyas HaMesim here. Only mentions Olam Haba. So the Ravid, there are two Ravids here. The Ravid back on page 4, the Ravid asked the obvious question on the Rambam. He asked, Omar Avram, Dibra Isha Zed Einai Kroivim Lamisha Eime Techiyas HaMesim Legufos Elul Neshamos Bavad. It would seem from the Rambam that he doesn't hold from Techiyas HaMesim for the guf, resurrection of the neshama back into the guf, that somehow Techiyas HaMesim is only for the neshama, is only for the soul. Chazal absolutely disagree. They say Techiyas HaMesim is for the guf and the guf and the neshama, and he brings various gemaras from Ksuvis and Sanhedrin. Asidim tzadikim sheyamdu bilvushehem kal v'chomer. The tzadikim will be resurrected bilvushehem, wearing their clothes, meaning that there is going to be a body, and and various other gemaras that the Rambam brings. That, and at the end, the last few lines of the Ravid, Aval Esha Shabori Yosim Griyosam Chazokos Ubrios. I'm sorry, we are right before the V'chol Eila Hamochin Ki Griyosam Hein Oimdim Chayim. All of the various gemaras indicate that they will be resurrected with their bodies. So there is a Techiyas HaMesim, body and neshama. The Rambam doesn't mention it. Once again, on page 5, back to page 5, the Ravid writes, when the Rambam defines Olam Haba, it exists today. It's after a person dies, the neshama goes to Olam Haba and gets that schar in Olam Haba. So the Ravid says, and the reason why it's called Olam Haba is because it's after a person dies. But it does exist today, and it's for the neshama when after the soul departs from the body, when the person dies. Omar Avram, Nira Kemachki She'ena Olam Chayzer L'Toyo V'Voy. It seems from the Rambam that he denies that this world will return to Tohu Vavo, to emptiness and nothingness. VaHaKadosh Baruch Hu Mechadesh Olam, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will create a new world. VeOmru Shita Al Feshnin Havi Alma VeChat Chorot. Gemara in Avodah Zarah says that this world will exist for 6,000 years. That's where the 6,000 years comes from. And then 1,000 years it will be destroyed. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will create a new world. After that 1,000-year period, that this world, as we know it, is destroyed. So it's a new world. That is the Ravid says. That's Olam Haba. Olam Haba, according to the Ravid, who holds like many other Rishonim, as we'll see, Olam Haba does not exist today. Olam Haba is after this world will be terminated, this world will be destroyed, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there will be a period of 1,000 years, whatever that means exactly, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will create an Olam Chodosh, a new world which is very, very different than this world. but in that Olam Chodesh, there will be guf uneshama. There will be body and soul. It's not just for the neshama. It's not just for the soul. It's for body and soul. So the Ravid is of the opinion, like the Ramban that we'll see, and Reb Sadia Goyin and Reb Meir Halevi, the Olam Haba is really the Olam of after Techiyas HaMesim. When there's going to be a Techiyas HaMesim, and that Techiyas HaMesim eventually will lead into Olam Haba, into a new world. Techiyas HaMesim will occur in this world at some time during Yemos HaMashiach, and they will live body and soul in this world, and then eventually it will lead, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will destroy this world, and those Mesim, body and soul, will eventually go into that new world, which is Olam Haba. I want to digress for a moment, just to talk about the Rambam. But the Rambam holds that he doesn't mention Techiyas HaMesim here, and many, as the Ravid, and many others had tightness on the Rambam. What happened to Techiyas HaMesim? The Rambam counts it as one of the Yud Gimel Ikrei Emunah, the 13th principle of faith, that if you don't believe in Techiyas HaMesim, so then you're not B'Koyres. And Eilo Chelek Le'olam Haba. Why doesn't the Rambam mention it over here? So the Rambam had to write a letter. He wrote a letter called Igeres Techiyas HaMesim to respond to all those who criticized the Rambam. We know the Rambam had many critics in different areas. This was one of the main areas of criticism of the Rambam. What happened to Techiyas HaMesim? So if you turn to page 6, the Rambam writes in this letter of Techiyas HaMesim, maybe I'll read a little bit, but the Rambam writes, of course I believe in Techiyas HaMesim. Techiyas HaMesim is an ace, it's one of the greatest miracles that will ever occur, and there's no machlokes about it. It's one of the 13 principles of faith. A person who does not believe in Techiyas HaMesim is machrish b'chol hanisim niflos. So he doesn't believe in Techiyas HaMesim. That means he doesn't believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can change nature, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can perform miracles, and therefore Techiyas HaMesim is one of the fundamental principles of faith. The Rambam writes, why didn't I write about Techiyas HaMesim in Mishnah Torah? He says, because Techiyas HaMesim is a miracle, it's a matter of belief. There's no philosophical investigation. When it comes to Olam Haba, there's the concept of eternity of the soul is almost a natural concept. The soul was created by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's eternal because it was created by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's ruchni, has no physical aspect, no material aspect to it, and therefore it's ruchni, it's totally spiritual, and therefore it is going to be eternal, and therefore it's a natural thing that it will exist. Shoras HaNefesh, it's called. The soul will exist after a person dies in this world, and it will go to Olam Haba. So that's why I write about that. But Techiyas HaMesim is a mofes, is a miracle that we just have to believe in. We can't really understand it. So that's how the Rambam justifies why he didn't write about it. But of course, he writes that he believes in it, and the Rambam writes, and let's read this on page 6. If you look at the first arrow, Zos Techiyas HaMesim Ushuv HaNefesh Laguf Acha HaMoves Kasher Zochor Doniel She'iyaf Shel Lefarsha Zikaron She'iyaf Shel Lefarsha Hu Amro. He brings the pasuk in Doniel. Rabbi Misheni Ad Masofer Yokitzu El Chayodim El Cherofos L'Deiron L'Olam Amalo Hamalach Vato Leich L'Keitz V'Toniel V'Tamo L'Garocho L'Keitz HaYomim. So Techiyas HaMesim, the nefesh the neshama will be resurrected in the body, and if the third arrow, like Techiyas HaMesim, when there's resurrection, the neshama in the body, they will live normal lives. They will live. It'll be a very, very long life, many, many years, but they will eat and they will drink and they will be married and they will have children. But afterwards, they will die. After a long life, because in the days of Mashiach, the lives of people will be much longer than when they are resurrected in Techiyas HaMeisim. Sometime during the period of Yemos HaMashiach, they will live a normal, regular life, body and soul. They will have children, and they will eat and drink and have marital relations. And that's distinct from Olam Haba. But they will, by Techiyas HaMeisim, after living a very, very long life, they will die. And then what will happen when they will die? Their neshamas will go back to Olam Haba, just the neshama, and they will exist eternally in Olam Haba. In Olam Haba, there's no Misa, there's no death in Olam Haba. That's eternal. Because there's no body in Olam Haba. It's the body which is the cause of Misa. So Techiyas HaMeisim, where there's a body and a soul, there will be Misa after a very long life, and then the neshama will go back to Olam Haba. She'anachnu namin v'hu emes eitzel kol ben dar she'olam haba nefoshes mibli gufes k'malachim. Olam Haba is only the neshama, is only the soul without the body, similar to malachim. Uber zeh she'aguf omnan hu klal kelim lepulas hanefesh. But Techiyas HaMeisim is a totally distinct, separate period where there will be resurrection of the body and the soul. The Shittas in the Rishonim, according to the Rambam, their Techiyas HaMeisim is going to be a period sometime during Yemos HaMashiach, but then the resurrected Guf and Neshama will die after that long life, and the Neshama will go back to Olam Haba, right, where it was after the person died in this world. The Neshama went to Olam Haba, just Neshama, and had a certain degree of schar, a reward in Olam Haba, and then there will be Techiyas HaMeisim. That is the opinion of the Rambam. But the Rambam certainly believes in Techiyas HaMeisim. The difference between those periods is that Techiyas HaMeisim is body and soul. Olam Haba is only neshama, and that's eternal. Techiyas HaMeisim is not eternal. It will be a very, very long life during the period, sometime during the period of Mashiach, and then. And then they will die and go back to Olam Haba. Techiyas HaMeisim, according to the Rambam, is only for tzaddikim. Is only going to be for the tzaddikim. I think Rabbi Wolf might talk a little bit more about that. I'm not going to focus on that. But then the question is, if Techiyas HaMeisim, so what is the purpose of Techiyas HaMeisim? If the ultimate schar, the ultimate reward is Olam Haba for the neshama, so why does it have to be a Techiyas HaMeisim? According to the Rambam, what's the purpose? The purpose of Techiyas HaMeisim, according to the Rambam, and the answer that the Mefarshim, everyone asked this question, and they give a number of answers. One answer is the Sifsei Chaim says this based on a Ramban, that the Ramban talks about this. What does the Rambam hold? That Olam Haba, of course, is eternal. That's the ultimate reward. What's the purpose of Techiyas HaMeisim, which is a transient state, might be for many, many years, and then once again the neshama will go back to Olam Haba and exist eternally in Olam Haba and get the reward. So the Ramban explains, according to the Rambam, that it's to give the opportunity for this individual to accrue greater chusim, to do more mitzvahs, that he was not able to do in his lifetime. Maybe he lived in a time when there was no Beis HaMikdash in Yemos HaMashiach. There will be a Beis Hamikdash, he'll be able to bring korbanos, be able to do mitzvahs that he wasn't able to do, and accrue greater schusim, so that he reaches higher levels in Olam Haba. Because Olam Haba, right, there are many, many different levels in Olam Haba in terms of the star, how close one is to the Shekhinah, the Hanoah that one gets from the radiance of the Shekhinah. So Techiyas HaMesim is really giving another opportunity to grow in Rufnius and to reach higher levels, so that when they go back to Olam Haba, they'll get greater reward in Olam Haba. In addition, the other Mefarshim who explain, but Sadia Goyin explains that the purpose of Techiyas HaMesim is, according to the Rambam, is not just a hachana, a preparation for reaching higher levels in Olam Haba, but also to give a certain schar, a certain reward to both the guf and the nefesh in this world, that for the mitzvahs that the person had done, that now he's able to be nehene from the tremendous experience of Yemos HaMashiach, when there'll be a Beis HaMikdash and there'll be Shalom, and Klal Yisrael will be respected by all the nations of the world. And so that's part of the schar, a schar that he was not. This is more of a physical schar in this world, that he'll have that opportunity of receiving that schar, of living during that period of Yemos HaMashiach and seeing the Beis HaMikdash and seeing the tremendous covet of Klal Yisrael, and having that hanoah, that pleasure of living during that period of Yemos HaMashiach. So these are the various explanations that are given. What is the purpose of Yemos HaMashiach, of Techiyas HaMesim, according to the Rambam, if the ultimate schar is just for the neshama, the eternal schar in Olam Haba? That is basically the shita of the Rambam. What? And there's Bechira also. Yes, the Rabbi Sadia Goyin writes about that. There is Bechira, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that if you're living in such a world, your Bechira is going to be a good Bechira. It's going to be a good Bechira. You're not going to have all of the challenges, nisyonis, and Yetzirah that we have in the world that we live in. So it will be a much more elevated existence, as they say in Yiddish, a dochoibina existence, right? And but there will be bechira, because without bechira you can't accrue. By doing mitzvahs, you can't accrue any greater levels, spiritual levels, and greater schar. That is basically the opinion of the Rambam. However, most Rishonim disagree with the Rambam's interpretation of Olam Haba and Techiyas HaMesim. We saw the Ravid, but it really comes from the one who really focuses on this is the Ramban, Reb Sadia Goyin, the Rabbi Halevi, the Ravid, and the Radvaz, and the Ritva, many Rishonim, that they have a totally different view of Techiyas HaMesim and Olam Haba. What they hold is basically Techiyas HaMesim and Olam Haba are identical. They're one and the same schar. What does that mean? They hold that there will be, sometime during Yemos HaMashiach, there will be a Techiyas HaMesim, where there will be one period of Techiyas HaMesim at the end of Yemos HaMashiach, or different times during Yemos HaMashiach. There'll be various periods of Techiyas HaMesim. There's a very, very big discussion among the Rishonim. So what is going to happen, though, during Yemos HaMashiach? There will be a resurrection. The neshama will return to the guf. They will live a very, very long time, and they will not die. According to the Ramban, I'm going to call it the Shita of the Ramban, there's no death after Techiyas HaMesim. Techiyas HaMesim leads to eternal life. It's eternal life, and they will not die. And then those who have been resurrected, right, in Techiyas HaMesim, guf v'nefesh, will enter Olam Haba. They will go into Olam Haba. Olam Haba will be a new world that Hashem will create. This world will be destroyed, will be terminated, and there will be a new world. Chazal say 6,000 years to this world, 1,000 year period of destruction, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will create a new world, which is very, very different. But it's a world for physical beings. It's right. Yeah, it's sort of, it's not, they don't call it the freezer. Chazal say that the tzaddikim, let me get the wings. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, let me just get the loshin of Chazal. Tzaddikim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Osalahem K'nofayim K'neshorim V'shotim Al Pnei Hamayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives wings to the tzaddikim for 1,000 years, and they fly over the water. There's no world anymore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because it's Chorev, it has been destroyed. And this 1,000-year period between Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba, the tzaddikim are given one. We have no idea what that means, but they're not flying on United or on Alaska American Airlines. So it's much better. They're not going to be canceled, right? No delays and no cancellations, whatever that means. What? No, they are. They're alive. They're alive. Yeah, goof. But the neshama and goof, that is Techiyas HaMeisim. That's Techiyas HaMeisim. And they with that neshama and goof, eventually, after that 1,000-year period, will go into Olam Haba. But in Olam Haba, Chazal say there's no eating, there's no drinking, there's nothing physical in Olam Haba. But they are physical according to the Ramban and this group of Rishon. So there is a group, but there's no achila, there's no shtia, as the Gemara says, and but they will live very, very once they enter during the period of Techiyas HaMeisim in this world in Yemos HaMashiach, there will be achila shtia. But when they enter Olam Haba, both guf and the shama, no achila shtia, no eating, no drinking, no breakfast, no lunch. They're going to be the henna miziv hashchina. So the first Shemis, how's that possible that there's a guf in Olam Haba? How's it possible that they shouldn't eat or drink? That's one of the miracles. That's one of the nisim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be mechazik. He will elevate this guf and nefesh that or have merged together as a result of Techiyas HaMeisim, and they won't need achila ushti. Moshe Rabbeinu, yeah, and others say it'll be like the miracle of Moshe Rabbeinu, 40 days and 40 nights. He fasted. So HaKadosh Baruch, there will be guf and neshama, right? But this guf doesn't have the physical needs of the guf in this world. And this is the ultimate schar, the ultimate reward that the Meisim, Techiyas HaMeisim, will go into Olam Haba. So Techiyas HaMeisim and Olam Haba are real. The what? Will there be a Beis HaMikdash? I don't know. During Yemos HaMashiach, there will be, maybe only in this world. In Olam Haba, it's the way it's described is just with the Shina. They're with the Shina, but even though they are guf uneshama, and no physical needs, and no achila, no shtia in Olam Haba, but there will be schar for the guf and the neshama. This goes back to Rebbe's moshel of the Pardes. The purpose of Olam Haba is to give schar, to give reward to both the guf and the neshama, which was mekayim mitzvahs in this world, because now they're together. It's not just the schar for the neshama, for the soul. It's a schar for the guf and the neshama. Guf and neshama together in this world will learn Torah and was mekayim mitzvahs and did masim tovim, and therefore both of them deserve reward. And that's the reward of Olam Haba, according to the Ramban and those who hold like the Ramban. Now, what happens according to the Rambam? We understand when a person dies in this world, his neshama goes to Olam Haba, and eventually, in Moshe Mashiach, there's going to be a Techiyas HaMeisim, and then he's going to die again, and the neshama will go back to Olam Haba, right? because Olam Haba exists today according to the Ramban. But according to the Ramban, Olam Haba doesn't exist until after this world is destroyed. After 7,000 years, right? Because there's 6,000 years of this world and 1,000 years already, and then there will be a new world, an Olam Chodosh, right? So where does the neshama go after a person dies? According to the Ramban, there is no Olam Haba until after this world is destroyed. So the Ramban writes in Shar HaGemul, he writes about Gan Eden and Gehinnom. Right? Gan Eden is where the neshama goes after a person dies, right? If he merits Gan Eden, or going to Gehinnom for punishment. And then eventually, during Yemos HaMashiach, there will be in Techiyas HaMesim that neshama will be drawn out of Gan Eden, be resurrected in the guf, and live a very, very long period of time. And then eventually, that guf and neshama will go into Olam Haba. Just to That's right. That's right. Yeah, no, it has to be. That's right. That's right. There has to be an Elef HaShishim, because Olam Haba is not until after this world. Well, yeah, we have got to work on it. Yeah, got it close to the end. Close to the end. So if you take a look on page, I don't know if you can see the page numbers, but on page 10 and 11, page 10, I made some diagrams just to make it easier to understand the Rambam and the Ramban. So on page 10, the schematic diagram, Shitas HaRambam. So Olam Hazeh, what happens Olam Hazeh, and a person dies, right? And then what happens? Tzaddikim go, according to the Rambam, they go to Olam Haba. Rishonim will go to Gehinnom. They're not going to merit Olam Haba. And then eventually, sometime during Yemos HaMashiach, there will be a Techiyas HaMesim, right? Even though the Rambam doesn't write about it in Mishnah Torah, but he clarifies it in his Igeres Techiyas HaMesim. There'll be a Techiyas HaMesim. And then at the end of Techiyas HaMesim, everyone will die again. There will be Nisa again, because according to the Rambam, in order to go back to Olam Haba, it has to be pure neshama. So as a result of Nisa, the neshama is separated from the guf. Olam Haba has no guf at all. It's only neshama. And then there is an additional point that the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah talks about. There will be a Yom Hadin Hagadol. There will be a great day of judgment. We're judged every year on Rosh Hashanah for the coming year. But there will be a day of judgment, another day of judgment that's called the Yom Hadin Hagadol, and that will determine exactly where the neshama will go, the neshama, and what level of Olam Haba the neshama will go back to. Because Techiyas HaMesim was to give another opportunity to grow and accrue more schusim and more mitzvahs to go to a higher level. You can go from the bleachers all the way to box seats, the grandstand or box seats in Olam Haba. There's a very big difference. But a baseball game, it doesn't matter too much. But in Olam Haba, makes a real difference eternally. That's your seed eternally, right? And the Yom Hadin Hagadol, and the Tzaddik will go back to Olam Haba without a guf, only in the Shama, and the Rasha will be Kores. That will be Kores. If he doesn't merit Olam Haba, he will be cut off from Olam Haba, and that is the Shita of the Rambam. Next page. What? The Rambam doesn't talk that. As far as I know, he doesn't talk about Gan Eden and Gehinnom. And obviously, there must be for Rishonim. The Gemara talks about it, but I don't know exactly what the Rambam holds about that. But I wrote on this chart that the Rasha goes to Gehinnom and he gets some kind of punishment there, some kind of cleansing there in Gehinnom. Next page, the Ramban, the Ramah, and the Ravid. There's Olam Hazeh, then a person dies. Tzaddikim go to Gan Eden, right? The spiritual Gan Eden. There's a Gan Eden in this world, a physical Gan Eden that we read about in Bereshit, but then there's a spiritual Gan Eden just for the neshamis. The Rishonim go to Gehinnom, then the neshamis go to Gehinnom, which they're punished or possibly cleansed of their averis, and then sometime during Yemos HaMashiach, there is going to be, according to many Rishonim, two different periods of Techiyas HaMesim. Towards the beginning of Yemos HaMashiach, there's one period for tzaddikim gedolim, for great tzaddikim, and then later on, towards the end of Yemos HaMashiach, there's going to be a Techiyas HaMesim for everybody, and that Techiyas HaMesim will determine exactly what is going to happen to everybody, body and soul. There'll be that Yom Adin Agadol, that tzaddikim will go from Techiyas HaMesim into Olam Haba. Guf and Nefesh. Olam Haba has the body and the soul, but the body does not have the physical needs that it has in this world. But it is body and soul together in Olam Haba. So Techiyas HaMesim and Olam Haba, according to the Ramban, is really one and the same. Techiyas HaMesim just leads into Olam Haba, and the Rishonim will either be nichras, they'll be kores, or there will be an oynish nitzchi, some kind of eternal punishment for the Rishonim, that maybe they'll go back to Gehinnom, and that is the basic machlokes between the Rambam against the Ramban in terms of framing Techiyas HaMesim and Olam Haba. Of course, as we mentioned, Ayin L'Rosa L'Kim Zulzecha, we have no idea of what the schar is in Olam Haba, that no human being has ever seen it or has ever experienced it, and cannot experience it until Olam Haba actually comes. So there are a number. I just want to focus on a few very interesting shaylas that come up in terms of Techiyas HaMesim. In terms of Techiyas HaMesim, Reb Sadia Goin, and this is on. You have this. You can try to read through it. It's not so clear, but on page 8 and 9, Reb Sadia Goin has 10 different questions that he raises about Techiyas HaMesim. I just want to mention a few because these are fascinating questions. First of all, in Techiyas HaMesim, what's going to happen? A person in the kever, in the grave, a person's body disintegrates into offer, and then it will be resurrected. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will put it back together as the body, and the neshama will enter that body. Will people recognize each other? Will you recognize your relatives that you knew? Will you look the same during the period of Techiyas HaMesim? So Rav Sadia Goin says, yes, people will recognize each other, and you'll know where you belong, what shevet you belong to, and relatives will recognize each other. What happens, he asks, a person who's blind in this world, right? He's a balmum. What's going to happen during Techiyas HaMesim, right? Will he also be blind? Will he also be lame during when he's resurrected? So he brings there is a Gemara about this, that the Gemara says that they will be resurrected with the mum, with the blemish, but then they will be healed. Then there will be a refuah. So he will now no longer be blind. But initially, he will have that blemish. That's part of the recognition, to be able to recognize the relative, he recognize friends, neighbors. But there will be that recognition, but then he will be healed. During Techiyas HaMesim, he asks, will there be achila, shtia? Will there be marriage? And the Sadia Goin says, yes, there will be achila, shtia, because there's a body, and that. And then, but eventually, when they'll enter Olam Haba, that body will be elevated and purified, and that won't in Olam Haba there won't be those physical needs, or there'll just be a nace that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make, like Moshe Rabbeinu, that they won't have the physical needs, but there will be marriage and children during the period of Techiyas HaMesim. And he asked the question, so how's it possible if there's a body and they go into Olam Haba with the body that there's no eating and drinking? So the Sadiq Goyen says, he answers like Moshe Rabbeinu, it's a nace. The Kodesh Baruch Hu will be mechazek, will strengthen that body and soul, that there won't be the need for physical needs. Now, just two or three very fascinating shilas. People are always wondering about these shilas, and these are, you really need mikubolim to talk about these shilas. And the Ben Ish Chai wrote Shilas Hatshuvas Rav Olim, and he deals with a number of very interesting shilas. First of all, during the period of Techiyas HaMeisim, right? And so will there be, when husband and wife are both resurrected, will they be married, or they have to have another chuppah? Will they have to have another kiddushin? You know, there'll be a marriage hall, a chuppah, and will everyone have to get remarried, a new kiddushin or not? Secondly, what happens if a woman had two different husbands? Her first husband died and then she remarried, right? In Techiyas HaMeisim, who is she going to be married to? The first husband or the second husband? And can she get married to the second husband, to the first husband? Because we know the Torah says that if a man divorces his wife, she marries another man, right? And then the second husband dies, she's not allowed to go back to the first husband. So what is going to happen in terms of two husbands? So the Rav Pa'olim, I gave you, these are the last pages in this handout. It's fascinating if you have a chance to read through it. But basically the Rav Pa'olim says the following. He says, during the period of Techiyas HaMeisim, they will need new kiddushin. They'll have to have a new chuppah. Why? Because even though there is going to be a Techiyas HaMeisim, but they'll need a new kiddushin because the guf will be new. The body will be new, even though it's going to look the same. But because the body had disintegrated in the keter, and now HaKadosh Baruch Hu is reforming this body, even though it looks the same as one lived in this world. That's, some people wouldn't want that, but that's going to be the Mitzias. The body, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will reform the body. But since it's a guf chodosh, it's a new body, there will be a need for that, and it's been changed completely in the kever. There will be a need for a new kiddushin. He says, so what about kibbud av v'ein? If it's a new body, will there be a chiyuv, a mitzvah of kibbud av v'ein? Because according to many, all the mitzvahs will apply during Techiyas HaMeisim. There's a big machlokes in the Gemara at the end of Nidor, whether mitzvah b'teilas la'asid lavo or mitzvah ein mitzvah b'teilas la'asid lavo. But if the mitzvahs will apply during Techiyas HaMeisim, will there be a mitzvah kibbud av v'ein? Because what? Before the Olam Haba, during the period of Yemos HaMashiach, during that period of Yemos HaMashiach. So the Rav Pa'olim says that even though the guf is a different guf of the father, the mother, and the child, but still there is, in every child, there is some of the nefesh of the parents. The nefesh, and some of the neshama of the parents is in every child. And since the neshama is eternal, the nefesh had never changed. It's the guf that has changed. And therefore, when it comes to kibbud av v'ein, he says, there will be a mitzvah of kibbud av v'ein because they're still connected. The kesher is there through the aspect of the nefesh that the child has from the parents. What about in terms of the marriage? She had two husbands. Who does she go back to? Who can she marry, and who should she marry during the period of Techiyas HaMeisim? So the Rav Pa'olim says she goes back to the first husband. She goes back to the first husband, and the reason for that, there is an issa. What? He says, I don't know. He says that she goes back to the first husband because he says there's a zoyar that says that even in Gan Eden, there is some kind of soulmates in Gan Eden. Gan Eden is only soul, is only neshama. But there's some kind of connection between the husband and the wife in Gan Eden. They are truly soulmates with her first husband, with the first husband in Gan Eden. And therefore he says, after Techiyas HaMeisim, well, if in Gan Eden there were soulmates, right? So now by Techiyas HaMeisim, she should go back to the first husband. What about the Issur in the Torah that says that if you married a second husband, you can't go back to the first husband? He said that Issur will not apply because it's a guf kodosh. Since it's a new body, there were soulmates in Gan Eden, and now Techiyas HaMeisim is a new body, a guf kodosh. So any kind of kesher that the body had before has been broken, and therefore there is no, that Issa will not exist. However, the Anaf Yosef on Ein Yaakov brings down the Sefer Nitzochin, that the Sefer Nitzochin says no, she goes to the second husband. She should remain with the second husband because of this very reason. She can't go back to the first husband. Because of the Issur, if you're married to a second husband, you can't go back to the first husband. So therefore, he says that she goes when they are during the period of Techiyas HaMeisim, she will go to the second husband. And this really, I'm really just touching upon this. These are fascinating shaylas. We don't ultimately know the answer to this. In fact, the Anaf Yosef brings a Sefer Nitzochin who says, we don't really have to delve into these questions because there'll be a Moshe Rabbeinu at the time of Techiyas HaMeisim. Let them deal with the shaylas. Moshe and Aaron, Eliyahu Novi, Tishbi Yitaretz, Kusha Zavayos. So we don't have to deal with it. But if you're interested, I have a svara that she goes to the second husband. So we have a machlokes about that. It's a machlokes in svara. It's not something that we really have to deal with, focus on now. It's just very fascinating. What? They'll get married during Techiyas HaMeisim. They'll be shidduchim, sure. Shidduchim, and children will be born, and they'll live a very, very long, productive life. Yes, and I'm sure that it will be on. No, there is. Yeah, during the period of Techiyas, not in Olam Haba. And not in Olam Haba, but in Techiyas HaMeisim. Remember, according to the Ramban and most Rishonim, right, there's a period of Techiyas HaMeisim, right, and that they will not die. Eventually, they'll fly for 1,000 years over the water until HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates a new world, and then they will go into that new world. That's Olam Haba. That's the world to come. And in that world, Olam Haba, there won't be Tashmish, there won't be Achilu Shtir. But during the period of Techiyas HaMeisim, they are living like we live, even though it's a higher level of spirituality, and they'll live very, very long lives, and they'll be healthy. They'll be healthy, and all of their illnesses will be there will be refuah for that. So, yes. The what? It won't be destroyed. I don't know what happens at the end of this world, though. I don't know. I can't answer that. And after 6,000 years, when this world will be destroyed, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will create a new world, Olam Haba, which is a very different world, right? Very, very different. And we'll be sitting with the Shekhinah, even though we have body and soul. So I don't know what's going to happen there as far as Beis HaMikdash. We'll be in the Mikdash Shel Ma'ala. We won't need a Mikdash Shel Mata down here. We'll be in that Beis HaMikdash Shel Ma'ala, which is truly on a higher level than the Beis HaMikdash, which is down here. Anyway, this is some insights. What's very, very important to know and to hold on to is this machlokes. What is the relationship between Techiyas HaMeisim and Olam Haba? Machlokes between the Rambam against the Ramban, and many other Rishonim. And Mirz Hashem, we should be zoiche that we should, coming of Mashiach and the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, and during Mashiach, then all of this will become more practical. Now it's very, very theoretical, more practical. Techiyas HaMeisim, and can you imagine Techiyas HaMeisim, all of the relatives. And one of the questions that Sadia Goyin was asked, is it possible if all the Meisim from history are going to be resurrected, will there be enough room in the world? Will there be enough room in Eretz Yisrael? Because Techiyas HaMeisim will be in Eretz Yisrael, in the Gilgul Mechilos. What? That's a big shayla. That's a big machlokes. Whether many hold there's no Techiyas. What? Yeah, maybe Chatzir, because they get Olam Haba. So if they have to go through a Techiyas HaMeisim, they get Olam Haba. But that's a big question. Who the Techiyas HaMeisim is for? I didn't really focus on that. Is it only for tzaddikim? Is it for Rishonim also? Is it for Ummah Olam, for non-Jews as well? These are very many questions that the Rishonim.
We're not talking about much destruction of the world.
Yeah.
We're talking about the world as it experiences itself as something that's part of a separate from Hashem. That makes it an existence of time and space, because it becomes a sense of mitzvah. That comes to an end in Erev Hashvili and Shekulah Shabbos. So when it says Chalul, it doesn't mean a destruction. It means the world's going through so much of a higher level. The whole sense of self, something apart, is nullified completely. Then we have to understand, so what happens after the 1,000 years? What's the Olam Chadash that is created? But that would explain how the Beis HaMikdash can survive, and how the thing that we're not talking about the physical disintegration, but that's the way.
For that you need Sifrei Chasidus, which I'm not so into. But this is the basic machlokes, okay? And we should be zoiche to that Tisha B'Av should be a day of sos and simcha, and we should have a gula shleima b'mheira. Okay, there are more handouts here that you can take.
That's great. I'm a Sauer, and
very much enjoy it. Anybody on this sheet of the Rambam is any shiyua from other?
Not that I know of. Because the Rambam has a lot of the Gemaras are not like that. What? Yeah, keep the handouts. Yeah, learn through them, because I only did on the very little the handout. Look at the Sadia Goyin, and if you can do the Rambam. Well, the Sadia Goyin is like the Rambam. Yes. Very much.
Sauer, is there a difference between if the husband passed away versus divorce? It's not, I'm not yet according to the second sheet. Yeah, he says, because he says there is no difference, passed away or divorce, and therefore, just like when the husband divorces his wife, she marries second, she can't go back to the first husband. So too, if he passes away, and she can't go back to the first husband. She goes to the second. That's the second sheet, but we don't know which sheet we